Good evening. Welcome to our Council and Committee of the Whole meeting for February 6, 2024. Bonne soirée et bienvenue à notre réunion de conseil pour le 6 février. Merci. To begin the meeting, we'll do our opening and land acknowledgement, and for that, I'll ask Councillor Chris Rivard.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As we meet today, I would like to take a moment to recognize the importance of the land on which we are gathered. The municipality of West Nipissing respectfully acknowledges that we are located on the homelands of the Anishinaabe peoples on the traditional territory of the Nipissing, Temagami, and Doquis First Nations, covered by the Robinson-Huron Treaty. We honor and recognize their historical connection to the land and value their significant contributions and shape communities. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility towards reconciliation and improving our understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures.
Thank you. I will take now any declarations of pecuniary interest. Seeing none. We do have an addendum this evening, item 8.1, which is the award of the Fire Master Plan contract. And so we have a resolution.
It is moved by Councillor Restoul and seconded by Councillor Crushane. Be it resolved that the addendum for the meeting of Council and Committee of the Whole held on February the 6th, 2024 be adopted as presented.
Thank you. Questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. And now the adoption of the agenda.
It is moved by Councillor Crushane and seconded by Councillor Restoul. Be it resolved that the agenda for the Council and Committee of the Whole meeting held on February the 6th, 2024 be adopted as presented.
Okay. Questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. We have no delegations this evening, so we'll move straight to number 5 for our Committee of the Whole discussions. First, we'll have a general government. And the first item, 5.1.1, we have Roma delegation update. I attended Roma along with Councillor Crushane, Deputy Mayor Restoul, and Councillor Rivard. We've each got a little to add to this, so I'll ask Councillor Restoul to start us off.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, just a quick verbal update on a couple of delegations that I took part in. One of them was on the Monday, which I believe was January 22nd, and I sat in with our local DSAB board and through our chair, Mr. Mark King. We had some items that we presented to the minister. We were talking specifically about an interesting pilot project on housing in trying to secure funding over the next 3 years to look at acquiring lower cost houses that could be renovated into 2 or 3-plex units to help with the housing market, and not the market, but our housing stock that we have here. So that was well received. The second item that we had with the minister was looking at a mobile unit to be based from DSAB in North Bay, but to reach out to all of the surrounding communities that are serviced through our local DSAB, looking at services, homelessness services, other types of services DSAB provides to bring them out and make it more another complement to what also it currently exists within DSAB services that they provide to West Nipissing and other municipalities across our region here. I thought that those went well. I think there was a little bit more support on the housing piece, and obviously with all of these delegations that we go to, time is going to be the telltale of if we get accepted, if our projects get some traction and move forward with them. So I thought that it was good. It was my first time sitting in with DSAB for one of their delegations, and I thought it went very well. All the board members who spoke well, and good dialogue with the minister. So we'll see how those pan out in the near future. The second delegation that I was able to participate in was on the Tuesday, the 23rd, and I sat in with Madam Mayor and with our local West Nipissing General Hospital CEO Sue LeBeau to meet with Minister Jones on challenges with our local hospital, and I thought that Sue and Madam Mayor both spoke very well, talking about our situation here in West Nipissing, the uniqueness of what our hospital brings to the region here, challenges with rural and Northern Ontario hospitals, the nursing agency nursing costs that are very challenging on a budget, especially for a smaller hospital like what we have here in West Nipissing. So we just looked at trying to look at opportunities to access additional funds. We all know that the hospital is one of our largest employers within the community and definitely serves a small community like ours where we don't want to have to travel 30, 45 an hour, especially in winter months. It's great to have that local service here for the ER and also for the other services that the hospital provides. So I thought we had a good discussion there as well. And again, we'll see how things happen. I thought it was, I don't know if I'd say unique, but I thought it was interesting. And our CEO, Mr. Barbaro, mentioned that again before our delegation, that typically those are very municipal-based delegations that we have, and to be able to assist the hospital in getting time in front of the minister to present those issues that we had here at the hospital. I thought it was a great partnership. They play a big role within the community, but it was neat to see the Ministry of Health taking our delegation request to share some info about our hospital, and we'll see where that goes. But good discussions, I think, and really a good opportunity.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ristel. Councillor Cochet?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I attended both delegations. The first one we had was Mr. Parsa from Minister of Community and Social Services. It was to advocate for an additional seat, additional board representation at DSAP. We were actually supposed to meet with the Associate Minister, and I guess at the last minute we actually met with the Minister. So it was nice to talk about our area. Kudos to Madam Mayor again for talking about West Nipissing and our uniqueness and the challenges that we face. We're hopeful. I think the review is still ongoing at the ministry level. So hopefully we're going to get some good news over the next couple of months. So overall that was a great experience.
Councillor Rivard?
Thank you. It was a great conference all around. All those delegations were great, and the other delegation that I'll touch on was a delegation from the Green Party of Ontario leader Mike Schreiner, and who is also the MPP for Guelph, and then also the MPP of Kitchener Centre, Ashlyn Clancy. They reached out to our municipality to see if we had anything we'd like to discuss with them in regard to Northern Ontario or our community in general. And two topics that seemed to really hit with them were housing. There was a lot of talk about housing. And the other one was in regard to our West Nipissing power generation station, how we are capped off at a certain amount of megawatts that we can sell. And so we discussed that with them about the extra 2 megawatts that we have the capacity for, but we're not allowed to flick that switch. And it seems as though they really understood our concern there and our need or want to be able to flick that switch and generate that extra power and sell that. So they have agreed to, once we do a little follow-up, they've agreed to send out a letter to the correct minister with the province, the correct boards, and see if this is something that could be changed at a higher level of government in order to help our municipality. Because it's pretty interesting how we do own our own generating station in West Nipissing, and it's a valuable asset that they understood as being something that we can really tackle with. Hopefully their help can help us get over that hurdle. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll close off by saying I too enjoyed attending the Roma conference with my colleagues here from council. I always find, I shouldn't say always because it's only my second one, but I found that Roma is the most interesting of the conferences because the content and the information and all the seminars are very focused on small municipalities. And so it seems like it's much more relevant to us than, say, AMO, where it's a lot of, Londons and Hamiltons and such, and the challenges smaller municipalities face are quite different than those of larger municipalities. The delegations, I thought, went very well, the 3 that we attended. And I'll just speak briefly about another opportunity that I had last year at Roma, my very first conference as mayor. I was very fortunate to meet a couple of other female mayors from Northern Ontario, including Cheryl Fort from Hornpain, Melanie Pilon from Wawa, and Beverly Nantet from Dubreuilville. And we started talking over dinner one night about Northern Ontario Women's Caucus, and the idea was kind of born over a dinner a year ago. And in that time, we've been working also with Mayor Michelle Boileau from Timmins, and moving forward on a process to establish a Northern Ontario Women's Caucus that would have representation not just from mayors. I mean, the female mayors were kind of where it started, but would include all elected officials that wanted to join female from Northern Ontario. And then also have associate memberships for female senior staff positions within municipalities. So we moved forward on that, and we actually had an opportunity to meet for the first time in person, and it was a great group. There was about 25 women in the room, probably about 10 or a dozen female mayors from Northern Ontario, and then several councillors, some CAOs, and it was really great to actually be in the same room with the women I had met with several times over Zoom over the last year. We've prepared a terms of reference, which should be approved at our next meeting, which is in March. And we'll be looking to open that up and then using that to hopefully get some funding to have a part-time administrative position to help us run it, and look forward to doing things like advocating to increase women's presence in local politics in Northern Ontario, because women are still largely underrepresented, and also address some of the social issues that really tend to affect women more, and specifically in the North, because we're communities are based often on very male-dominated fields and resource development. And women were always kind of, keeping the home fires. And there's a lot of issues where there's still a long way to go to create economic and social stability for women in our communities. And so those are the things that we hope to accomplish. And for me, that it was one of the highlights of the conference for me. So, and with that, unless anybody else has any other, were there any questions from any of the councillors who didn't attend and make more information? Okay, we'll close that topic. Thank you very much again. I enjoyed spending the time at the conference with the four of us there. It was excellent. Okay, and next on the agenda, we have 5.1.2, which is a municipal budget update. And for that, I will pass the floor to Madam Craddock.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I gave you a little memo in the in your package. I'm just going to talk a little bit about process on municipal budgets. So we had budget meetings in November, and there were a few pieces that we were kind of waiting on, and then in order to sort of have an approved budget, we need to bring back a resolution to approve the budget. So I wanted to give you an update. We have on the meeting this evening about approving the capital budget, but I'll just give you an update on the operating position. So at the last budget discussion, there was a discussion regarding the Old Chateau transfer to reserve, just holding it at the same line that it had been at in 2023, to sort of get down under the 5%. Since that time, we received formal notification on the health units official municipal levy, and we received just the 4,400, and so I put that into the document that you have, so that what the document that's attached to the memo is sort of the summary of the budget discussions, and that sits at 4.74. In that time, DSAB had approved its overall budget, but we always have to wait for our apportionment, because we do have it is apportionment based on assessment, and it is a different from just the overall municipal levy. This memo went out Thursday night. I got the apportionment on Friday. So I will just let you know that the DSAB apportionment is $15,000 lower than what's in this budget document. And so that would bring us down to 4.67 on that. And just as a note, so you can kind of see, so the overall municipal levy portion for DSAB went up 2.99%. We went up 4.08%. And East Ferris went up 4.61%. So that just speaks to the growth that's occurring on this side of North Bay with us. So as our assessment grows, then our portion changes in relation to the others there. So there would be a little bit of change with that. Next steps would be is that, we had sort of this budget in principle agreement based on these last little things in November. And if that sort of, goes everyone at the next council meeting, we'll actually bring back approval of level of expenditures. In order to sort of move ahead and say we've got a past budget, I actually need the resolution. So, even though we have this sort of agreeing concept, we actually need to at some point put a resolution to it. If council's not ready to do that yet or needs more, then you need to sort of, let the mayor know so that she can talk to Jay and we can sort of move on what steps we need to take in between. And then the capital budget, there is a sort of a significant change just in the funding sources, not in the projects, but in the funding sources. So again, when we were doing budget in November, I was doing estimates on what our OCIF, Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund, and our gas tax amounts would be, and I was estimating sort of reserve positions at the end of the year. And then I received a notice from OCIF indicating that it was substantially lower than the estimates I'd used when we were doing the budgeting. And I turned about 6 shades of green on it because the CAO and I had worked a lot with our folks at Public Works and sent them back a few times to revise budgets to get it into the funding envelope that we had. So what we were able to do between November and now, we got notification it was take a look at it. I was able to sort of fine tune better than what the estimates were doing in November as far as what reserves were carrying over. So we had a little bit more reserves carrying over because I was conservative when I was doing the budgets. Reserves don't expire, they stay there. If we don't use them, they carry forward to the next year. And so there's a little bit more reserves carrying forward. And then when you look at the awards that are on your agenda later on this evening, those capital awards represent, RFPs or RFQs that we went out for in December and January. Again, having got the nod sort of from council last time that yes, they were okay with going ahead with the public works part thing. And so we actually did see fairly substantial savings in our brushing and ditching, as well as the Front Street rehabilitation one. And so those both, make some difference so that even though we have lost the funding this year, the projects that were presented in November are still okay. We've got enough. It just means the funding will be different. It'll be a little bit different from reserve versus OCIF, and just the funding portion of it's going to be a little bit different, but the projects will be able to go ahead with the contemplated projects. And so there is that capital budget expenditure later this evening for that. And the reason we split it up this time, usually we do everything all together, is that when I was speaking with the mayor leading up to the meeting, she wasn't sure whether council was ready to go ahead with the overall budget, but in order to award those capital projects, we need to kind of pass the resolution on accepting the budget for the capital projects. Otherwise, we don't have any authority to move forward, which is why that's on your agenda tonight as a standalone piece.
Thank you very much. Questions or comments from our members? Sorry, and I know it's probably in the document. So how much was your estimate on the OCIF?
Oh,
Sorry.
I just got my revised now. So and it,
194 more than what's there.
yeah, yeah. So at the time, I was looking at about 1 point. So right now in the budget, there's 1,385,000 that's from OCIF. A little bit of that is carry forward from last year.
Okay.
And the rest is 2024 new money.
Okay. And is the OCIF funding less than last year, or is it just less than what you thought it would go up by?
No, actually, it's less than last year, and that is actually a good point. So it's less than last year, and they changed how they were doing the allocation this year. That said, they did give me some advice on improving our potentially improving our number in the future, but it's based on FIRs and sort of the asset value in the FIRs, unless we provide other documentation on financial information return. Sorry. Yeah. And so that they take our information that comes with our audit and stuff like that. But there are some ways as far as getting actual cost replacement rather than using our FIR numbers. And so they've given me some suggestions on potentially improving our situation for next year as far as letter asset. But we are still competing against, not competing, but we are still just it's across the province in this, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? Councillor Tessier?
Thank you, Mayor Rachel, through you. Just to confirm that the 2024 recommended projects, they fall under this, but right now the recommended, they're not passed yet, right?
Correct.
The budgets are there, but that's going to come to discussion in future council meetings, right? So the Vernon Municipal Building Structure, the Sturgeon Falls Arena, AODA conceptual, and the outdoor pickleball.
No, so when we and that's why when we usually do it together, it's a little bit clearer. But no, it is actually accepting that these are the projects. Now, we did have some conversations, I know, about the pickleball, and that was one of the ones where there was money set aside. We needed to do some more work and some more research to find out about what the actual cost would be, what resurfacing would be, and once we had that information, it would come back to council as far as a discussion. Do you want to go ahead with this big project, this little project, how it carries forward? I believe that Mr. Poulin gave a fairly good statement at the time on why the Verner Municipal Building must go ahead if we intend to keep that building open even in the immediate future. But no, it actually is that list of projects that is contemplated to go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, because I understood that the outdoor pickleball courts was going to put aside because they were looking at possibly having a policy.
Okay. Can we hold this discussion to when we get to, is
The
that
resolution?
better?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
is that better if we're talking about the specific capital budget?
Yeah.
Because we're going to have that discussion later in the meeting. If we can hold that discussion until that time, I think, because there may be some other last questions from other councillors on the actual capital budget itself and this is more just an update to the budgeting process. But when we get to item 6.2.1, we can come back and actually discuss the specifics if that's okay. Councillor Tessier?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on the budget update as provided? Okay, with that, I would imagine we'll look at the capital budget later in the meeting this evening, and then the operational budget will likely come back at the next meeting.
Yeah.
No, we're still waiting for the chateau.
So, and again, it's a little bit then council's comfort level. So budgeting is estimates always. Everything that we put into a budget is an estimate. So if council wants to wait until we have the chateau and have everything solidified like that, and not just use sort of an estimate based on our conversations with them, then we just understand that the budget is not considered passed, and it means that I'm pulling back on any sort of
Other
new
stuff, yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's going to be your comfort level on that. Yeah.
Great. And we will move on then to, there's no action items on that.
No.
That's okay. We'll move on to item 5.1.3, financial matters, monthly disbursement sheets. And we have an agenda request from Councillor Tessier. So would you like to speak to that?
Yes, I'd like to speak to that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So thank you, Mrs. Craddock, for the memo and the detailed report. After reading your report and the documents mentioned, I also reviewed the Municipal Act, Section 2.70, adoption of policies, which gives the information for the municipalities, what they should adopt and maintain policies with respect to certain matters. And the documents that you referred in your memo does cover most of these items, such as the sale and other disposition of land, which the policy or the bylaw for sale and disposition of land that we have. Number 3, the procurement and goods and services, which covers the procurement policy and the validity of tenders and vendor performance policy. And number 5, the manner in which the municipality will try to ensure that it is accountable to the public for its actions. and the manner in which the municipality will try to ensure that its actions are transparent to the public, which is your financial policies, control policies, the budget and financial control policies and capital budgets. So that covers the Municipal Act for the municipalities' responsibilities. Now, I also reviewed council's role as far as what they need to ensure that administrative policies, practices, and procedures and controllership policies, practices, and procedures are in place to implement the decisions of council, as well as to ensure that the accountability and transparency of the operation of the municipality, including the activities of the senior management of the municipality, and to maintain the financial integrity of the municipality. Along with that, the Ontario Municipal Council Guide adds, in addition to that, it is also important that procedures and policy are clearly set out and accessible, and that the day-to-day operation of the municipality are transparent. Which brings me to the members of council are not able to take part in the operations of the municipality. So council receives reports. So the day-to-day activities would be like the disbursement report that was in the bylaw that previous council had requested. To assist with the day-to-day activity that council is responsible to review. So the municipality does have their obligation to the Municipal Act. However, council also has the responsibility to review the activity of the operations through reports such as daily activities and the reports to maintain the financial integrity of the municipality. So to ensure that council meets its obligation under the Municipal Act, I would request that the report for daily activities such as accounts payable still be presented at council as past practice.
Okay. Did you want to speak to that?
So I provided a bit of history to council, and I'll leave it with council to discuss, and your interpretation of what day-to-day activities or what council's role or how detailed the council's role in day-to-day activities and how that's defined, I think is a little bit looser than that. As I have said, though, that disbursement sheet that was previously provided to council simply cannot be created anymore. At the last council, what we did at the end of the term is produce them with a check register, which is just sort of a list of checks that have gone out in a monthly basis, and and that's something that council can consider as well. But I cannot create that disbursement report that was seen through the 2010, 2012, 2017 stuff. It simply is not possible to be done in any format, save and except someone individually going through and typing up something, and I can't imagine the time that it would take to do that. So, in addition to our policies, when we have an audit, our audits come in every year, and what our auditors actually are doing, they're actually auditing our process. So they come in December and they come back in March. And they actually go through, and we have this entire list of these are our operating procedures, and these are the things we've done, and these are the sign-offs that are supposed to be there, and they test our process kind of in a randomized fashion where they select and test things that are seen as weaknesses or things that we don't have, or things where we failed the process actually come back to council in a management report. If you don't say management report, that means that they've tested our processes and found our processes to be followed and adequate. So, those are some of the other kind of protections that the council has as far as, ensuring the council is fulfilling its fiduciary duty and ensuring that processes and policies are being followed, and that the public can be comfortable that, the funds that they send to the municipality and trust through their taxes and through their water are used in the appropriate manner. Madam Mayor?
Okay. Questions or comments? Actually, can I open with just a couple of questions just to clarify kind of the scope? And so our annual operating and capital budget combined is rough 37,
Yeah, it depends.
more than 40.
Yeah.
More than $40 million. So that would be on average 3.5, 3.3
Yep.
a month, $3.3 million in transactions per month. Okay. And, could you give a guess on the top of the head if we ran a check register on that, how many transactions would show? I mean,
So I actually did a look, in 2023, we had 871 suppliers. We processed 9,100 independent invoices, and that's not including our co-op statements because our co-op statements were processed differently. And our check register for 2023 is 180 pages, but I can tell you it'll be longer in 2024 because of how we changed how we process our PAPs. So it's that kind of volume that we see.
okay, and that does not include HR costs. So those
Correct.
run separately, those are run separately and would not be included in
Yeah.
such a. Sorry, how many did you say in that?
So we processed
Oh, 9,000 per
100
year.
invoices, individual invoices
Okay.
this year. Yeah.
So each monthly statement would then have somewhere in the range of 800. You're the
Yeah.
math expert. I'm doing quick math in my head about 800 transactions per month. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to get a scope of what such a report would look like as far as the information that would be provided. Okay. Questions or comments? Councilor Pellerin?
Yeah, just a comment. A board I used to be on, we had a fraud, which the auditors, it's not their job to look for. So it was suggested to us that we do get the check person and all this. I understand that it's not quite as big as we're running here. It would be nice to have. I don't know, because of the size. But yes, it would be nice, and it would put checks in places. That's my comment.
Questions or comments? Councilor Restal?
I just, like we're seeing in a lot of different areas within the municipality, there's growth and there's evolution of the services that we provide and what's available to us as well. I don't, again, the definition of what you're talking about in the day-to-day activities, I think we're here to set policy, set budgets and move things forward like that. We have very well knowledgeable and skilled staff to implement the decisions that we make here. I don't think that it's my job to look at the day-to-day activities of what's happening here. I'm here to set policy with all of you to determine budgets like we talked about a little bit earlier and we'll be talking about later again. I think there are some checks and balances in place. I don't know. I don't want to get into the weeds of day-to-day activities here because I don't think that's my role. If we do have stuff in place, we do have staff in place. If there are issues that come forward, as was mentioned through the auditing process as well, yearly we get those. We get external people who come in to look at the system that we're implementing here, and they give us their reports. And they do. There are some. I haven't ever been associated with it, and that's good. But there are some statements of. If there are fraudulent activities, or those statements are made within the reports that we receive. So they do look at certain levels of expenditures and those, potential fraudulent activities that take place there. I think if we don't have a system that easily provides these reports, and I'm going back to, 15 years ago when I was here, you'd get the odd question. A check for this, what's it for? It's for this. Okay, thanks. If we have to invest a lot of human resources into developing this report that's going to generate very small questions, probably, if I'm going back on my own experience. I think our staff, I don't think that's a task I'd want to put on our staff members to have to dedicate, especially if it's generating a report from large sets of data to come forward. I'm comfortable, and it's just my own position, I'm comfortable with our staff. I know they do an excellent job, and I wouldn't want to create days and days of work for something for us to flip through and probably more than likely not have any questions related to it. That's my comments. Okay.
Thank you. Councillor St. Louis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And through you, I agree with what Councillor Pellerin is saying when it comes to doing audits, and they're not going to be looking, or they will be looking for anything that is out of the ordinary and anything that is fraudulent. And I think it's at that point in time that if that information comes to us as a council, that we will make a determination and say, hey, hold on here. In the month of February and March and April of 2022, there were some issues and some concerns. So, you know what, here's at this time is where we would like to see all this information. I agree with Councillor Restool. I'm of the same mindset. I have faith in the people that are in the place where they are right now, that they are going to do their due diligence at their job according to what the ethics are, and hopefully that they do well. And if an auditor does find anything, then there's consequences, and we'll go through the process at that point in time.
Councillor Resto.
Sorry, if anybody else wants
It's
to
okay,
go
it's
first.
in committee. Speak more than once.
No, I just wanted to add to my comments that, as is in the memo that we received last April and last June, we approved 2 policies here, not from previous councils, but from us here with respect to the budget and financial control and to capital expenditure. So we weren't adopting something that was done prior. We had discussions here, and we put those policies in place as well.
Councillor Gagné.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So my question is to Councillor TC. What are you looking for in regards to information?
Well,
Since
it's
the disbursement sheet that old report can't be done, I'm just curious and trying to understand what you'd like to receive.
Well, to be transparent to the taxpayers or to the stakeholders as well, the day-to-day activities of what is going out. We have system in place that are projecting 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10-year plans. However, anything above $50,000 has to come to council, but anything below that, then there's policies that are in place. However, council is responsible to ensure that those policies are followed, but we don't have access to that information. So by having a monthly information, then that can be reviewed, and if there's anything to be questioned about the policy, then it can be brought up.
I believe under $50,000 though, there's still a procurement policy that requires multiple bids unless it's a specialized.
So the procurement policy does set the various levels for when they can just go out and do like a quick bid versus a formal bid. And then the capital policy talks about the reports that come back to council on the various projects and the awards. Yeah, again, the difficulty with even with a check register is it doesn't even really provide that information to you. You will see that there will be a check written to contractor ABC for $265,000, and you think, hey, I didn't award anything at council, but that contract for $265,000 is actually a release of holdback from 2 years ago, and 4 small projects that were all under, and it doesn't by itself actually protect that transparency that you're looking for in the process. Like I said, we know under the capital project or capital budget, we do come back with the ones that are awarded underneath. And then the rest is our operating, and whether it's 5,000 in pencils here, 5,000 in pencils there. So I'm not sure that you're going to actually achieve what you're looking for in transparency there. But the check register is sort of the only tool that I have got to give to you in that format.
I guess I'll just say a couple of things. I kind of agree with Jamie and Norma. Every resource we have in this municipality is finite, including our staff resources. So, you know, to have a check register, if that's what can be produced by staff, to give you a list of every payment, and that's not a difficult task for staff. It's a report. However, I don't know that it gives us any information that is relevant. It doesn't contextualize the information in a way that is particularly useful. Where I think that if we're strategic about it, you know, we can ask staff for reports that will give us information that will help us, you know, determine the efficiency of buildings, or determine the efficiency of our fleets, or, you know, see this or that. We can ask for those types of reports, and I'd be much more interested in seeing that information as far as from a high level policy position. You know, I don't know that a check register itself is useful. And if the only way that the disbursement reports as seen in the past can be recreated is with the input of a whole lot of staff time, because there's also, I believe, concerns around protection of privacy. So I believe in the last ones, not only after the report was compiled, staff then has to go back and redact any information that might be compromising of any privacy concerns or legislation around privacy. So it can be a bit of a complex process. But, you know, I will leave it to council to decide. I just, I don't know that the check register that offered is really of all that much like value, as far as you'll see 15 hydro bills, but there won't necessarily be addresses attached to any of those hydro bills. So you'll go, okay, well, we made 15 payments for 15 different buildings, but it doesn't contextualize the information in a way that's useful. So that's other questions or comments on that? Okay. What I'd like to do is just take a full of hands. Who would be interested in receiving a check? What did you call it? Check register? Check register monthly, either to council directly or as part of the consent agenda. Like, who's interested in seeing the 800 transactions? Because that is an easy report. It just, I don't know how much anybody will get. Fern? And then Councillor Tessier?
I got it.
Okay,
Just-
yeah.
I'd like to see something like that. If there'd be a way to, like, hydro bills, we don't need to see salaries, which to me would just be, okay, we hired Joe Blow to do this, or we hired that company to do this. It would be those checks that I'd like to see. But how, I'm not sure if it can be done.
So if you're looking at a check register, the payroll is not in there, but if you're looking at a check register, it's going to be far easier to just run the entire check register than to go through and pull out our 44 Hydro One bills and another 44 GSU bills and everything else. So yeah, it's actually, again, if you're looking at, we just hired, this person for that job. If it's capital, that's going to come back to you in the capital report. But otherwise, yeah, the check register, if we're going to run it, it's going to be the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so how many people would be interested in seeing a check register sent once per month? Okay, 1, 2. Okay. There doesn't seem to be an appetite for that to come back specifically. We do have quarterly updates that you give us from according to budget. So with that being said, we do have a policy in front of us, the 2019 whatever, 2019-55, and in section 4.2 of that bylaw, section 4.211, it has disbursements monthly. So is there a need to update the policy so that it reflects that disbursement sheets are not being issued anymore, just from a housekeeping point of view?
Clerk leaning forward to me, but usually we like to clean up so that our practices and our policies match, yeah.
So if it's not the appetite of council to bring back Councillor.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I was reading it and I don't know if that we need to. It just says some examples of how, right? So do we really need to take it out? That's just an example of how. It doesn't mean you have to do it. That's how I read it. I don't know if anybody else reads it the same way.
You do?
I don't have.
Okay, I'm looking at.
Sorry, it says some
Yeah.
examples of how the municipality provides accountability and transparency are as follows. But those are examples.
Okay.
It doesn't mean it's all of it. Yeah, that's how I read it. I might be reading it differently, but or wrong.
Yeah, I kind of read it like that as well, but I would want to take staff's advice just on, as you say, matching policy to procedure.
Yes, we do like to match policy to procedure, and because the disbursement sheets, as they've been before, simply can't be done anymore, it probably is better to remove that. Whether you want to put in the other references to the other financial policies or anything like that, that'd be up to you, but, it probably would be better to remove it, but, the interpretation is going to be your interpretation.
And just to touch back on the accountability and transparency, information is also available through Freedom of Information. That's correct. So any resident who is interested, I'd like to know any payments you made to public works contractors for February 2023. Could they put in a request such as that? And
I'd have to talk to my Freedom of Information folks, but they seem to be able to request a lot of things, yeah.
No. Okay. So then how would, if one was interested in getting that
Can you rephrase the
information?
question? I might have. Sorry,
Certainly.
Madam Mayor.
Well, we're looking at disbursement sheets, and one of the concerns that has been brought up is about transparency for money that is being spent by the municipality. So my question was, as a member of the public or a ratepayer in the municipality, could somebody make a Freedom of Information request, requesting information on financial transactions that were specific? So as an example, I would like to know every check you cut to a construction contractor for February 2023.
Yes.
And that information would go through the Freedom of Information
I
process.
originally thought you said, has it been submitted?
No. Could it be submitted? So anybody who is interested or has specific questions could come through Freedom of Information request with a specific request for specific information. I'd like to know all the money you spent on electrical contractors in 2022.
Yeah, and one of the you said specific information, very broad ones, we do sometimes have difficulty when they have this very broad sweeping requests, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. So back to making policy match procedure. It is a preference of staff to have policy match procedure.
Yeah.
If that is the case, and council has decided that the disbursement sheets, should we be bringing back this policy to the next meeting with the removal of disbursement sheets from section 4.2, so that the policy is cleaned up on that? I'll take a show of hands. Yes, we should bring the policy back. Yes, okay, thank you.
You.
Okay, anybody who is a policy geek that wants to look through this policy in the meantime between then and now, if there are any other minor changes when it comes back, be fantastic. Councillor Carney?
Yeah, just a question, just on OCPC's question in regards to how do we get information if we want to? Can we bring that back to our policy also?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say I want to know any purchasing items that we've done that has been done $5,000 to $10,000. I'd like to have that information.
Yeah.
Just maybe bring that back, and maybe that could maybe lead to what Council PC is requesting.
Yeah, can I
Maybe.
paraphrase?
Yeah,
So
please.
without the disbursement sheets coming to council in a regular basis, can there be something in the policy that lets us know how to submit requests for specific information? So if we're considering, I keep saying the efficiency of buildings because we have a lot of inefficient buildings, the utility costs on the information center. So something within the policy that lets us know what the process would be to receive specific information. Does it need to come to council to say, we would like staff to generate a report? Is it something that if it has to do with Councillor Gagne is the chair of Public Works and it's information that he wants in regards to his role as chair, can he go through his staff contact to receive that information? So just something as far as if there are no disbursement sheets, how can we access specific information that we would like in order to do the work that we need to do? Because I think there will still be a need for information, and so, like I said, do we go straight to staff? Do we go through Mr. CAO? Or is it something that needs to come in front of council through an agenda request item? So just some kind of update the policy that allows us.
Yes.
Okay. That's a great point.
I just want to thank you because that's kind of expresses that what we're looking for as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that way we have relevant information. Okay. I think that will help, and this should probably actually come back into committee, would you say, for the next meeting, just because? Yeah. And then we'll do an update to the policy stuff. Okay, does that sound fair to everybody? Okay, any other questions or comments before we move on the agenda? Excellent. Okay, that wraps up general government. The next item on the agenda is item 5.2.1, Social Services Committee. So I will pass the chair to Councillor Restool.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. In our packages tonight, we have a couple of items. One item on the agenda. It's a financial request from the No More Tears group. And in our council packages, we have a letter that was penned by the group and sent to Mayor Rachon and us as council. Also a copy of their incorporation of their constitution and as a not-for-profit organization, and also a print off of a potential office space rental. So in general, and I'll definitely open the floor to comments and questions, but generally what the ask is of the No More Tears group is support with their rent for the office space that's identified in our packages. They're looking at potential yearly cost of around just under $11,000 for the year of 2024. So they're requesting that as office space for their organization. So I'm sure we've all had a chance to take a look at that. I'll share some thoughts after, but being hopefully a decent chair, I'm going to open it up to everybody around the table and open for comments on this agenda item. We're going right back to
I do have a question. we have a specific policy regarding this that, because I know we help with the food bank with their lease. Would that fall under that same category?
Sure, Mr. Chair. We don't have a specific policy, so we do have policies on donations that are just sort of small amounts, and, you know, that we do donations for bereavement and those types of little things that fall into a donation policy. But for the larger requests, they always come back to council, which is why you see the food bank come back to council for the request to get approved each year. So we don't have any policy in place right now that sort of automatically these things fall under at all.
Be good.
Follow up, I don't know. I'll see what you have to say and then I'll say.
Council Pellerin?
Just a comment, I'd be in favor of this because I'm just thinking, these people did, to me, incredible work. If they wouldn't have been there, they help people find places and everything. That amount of money, let's say this year would be okay. Next year, would that fall under DSAP? No?
Oh,
I'm just wondering.
unless DSAB enters into some kind of contractual agreement with the organization, you know, like funding received from DSAB, we can't speak to that. That's a separate matter, a separate board, and they have their own processes for contracting with service providers.
Yeah, I'm just thinking because I think they did the incredible work. All volunteers. The least we could do is pay for a space for them and then reevaluate next year. That's my comments.
I'll start. I agree with some of the comments you made, Conseiller Pellerin. No More Tears are doing a great job for homeless people in West Nipissing, which has grown in the last year. But my question would be, have they approached a DSAP to see if there's any funding and can they be part of their umbrella to be able to get that funding? Because we are actually paying DSAP for a portion of these kinds of services. And also I'm wondering if No More Tears has also approached any other organization like the food bank, if they have room in their current space that the municipality is paying for, and also with the Fig d'Isabelle, is there room there to be able to partner with them to kind of help out? Because we can't fund every non-for-profit group that is asking for money, because then we might have 10 all of a sudden, and we don't want to say no to everybody, but I think we have to maximize the amount of space that we're using to start with, and then go from there. So those are my comments at the moment.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Rochon. I kind of can answer a bit for Le Pic Isabelle and the food bank. I've attended those areas, and the space that they have is it's packed with their supplies and everything. There's not an extra space to make an office to make it available. That's what I'm seeing at this time. And also the clientele that you want them to be able to offer them the services at that location that they're looking at, to have a separate office within their space, that they can have other services come in and serve the clients at their office as well. So it helps them if they feel that they're unable to attend, let's say, the actual office, the service where it's provided, they can support them to come to their office and have them support them at the same time. So it's a way to support them until they can become more independent and more confident within themselves as well.
Just on that comment, Conseillère Tessier, would it be possible to have that information? Like, what are the exact services that you're going to be offering to the homeless people? Because there's no details, and I know maybe some are confidential, but it'd be nice, like, I'd like to have more details to better understand what are the services that it will happen in that office space. Like, is it kind of counseling? Is it like, and if you don't have I don't want to know the details right now, but if we can get that information,
Well,
might be a bit easier for us to be able to.
yeah, I can offer some information that they have when you walk in, it's open, and then there's an office at the back. So their plan is to support them, but right now they're doing it like, I'm gonna say on the road outside, so they meet them where they are, and then they take them for appointments or help them with their appointments. But this way they'll have a location to come in as well, so they're inside. And then if they want, they communicate with social services, with the housing, so, or even Alliance, if they have medical needs, they can come to their office, and they have an office space to make it private instead of going to the Alliance office. So I'm not sure if that's clear, but if you want more specific information from them, we can request that from them to bring forward to the
Like
next
that, please.
meeting.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm not trying to.
You were.
Bad habit.
Thank you. Through you, do we know, so I know there's several places in North Bay, whether it's the gathering place and, I forget the name of the other one. But anyways, who, or where do they get their money? How are they supported? How are, does somebody subsidize them? Does the municipality pay for them or for their shelters or for those areas? If so, then, absolutely. But if not, who does? Right? So maybe that corporation, if it's DSAB or anybody else, whether it's CMHA or whomever, if they are the ones supporting those areas, then maybe that's something that we need to tap into also to help our community with that kind of funding, right? As opposed to just adding it to our taxpayers here. If, like I said, whether it's CMHA or DSAB or anybody else that is supporting the individuals in North Bay, maybe that's somewhere we need to look at for our municipality also and try to help the more tiers that are doing, the work that they're doing right now. I mean, I'm not sure if they're aware of who's supporting those places, but if we can get that information for them, then that might be something better or something more, or maybe there's something bigger that we can get them.
I mean,
this is a difficult one for me because the organization is still relatively new. When we talk about the relationship that we have with both the West Nipissing Food Bank and the Feed Isabel, both of them are, first of all, registered charitable organizations, which is a very different setup than being a not-for-profit. The food bank's been operating in our community since 1990. They were registered in 1990, so they were probably operating informally for several years before that. And Feed Isabel, I looked at a newspaper article today that 5 years ago they celebrated their 75th anniversary of serving our community. When you're dealing with a registered charitable organization or an organization such as the food bank, they're filing tax returns every year. They have audited financial statements for us to look at as far as the value for money when you're working with an organization that is so relatively new. We are responsible for the taxpayer dollars. And so how do we make sure that the organizations that we are supporting are providing services in a way that is it is financially responsible. And so when there's only a 3-month history on an organization, it's really difficult to be able to assure yourself that things are going to run well, or that it's going to be long-term sustainable and it's going to be a good investment for taxpayer dollars. The other point that I would make is that some of the services that are being offered by No More Tears West Nipissing are a duplication of services that are offered through DSAB and their service provider, TrueSelf, which is the outreach provider for West Nipissing. And I have concerns about that duplication of service. And, until No More Tears is able to establish a relationship with DSAB where they're working as part of the coordinated access system, it's like having two agencies competing against each other, and one is tied in to the rest of the service system, which has been developed with a lot of hard work with DSAB and making sure that there's a full information database to help track outcomes for people. And so there's concern there. And then for accessing services, the other services provided by DSAB, so whether that's childcare services, or access to housing or affordable housing, homelessness interventions, and the other services that DSAB offers. DSAB actually has a full-time permanent office located on King Street here in West Nipissing that is open 8:30 to 4:30. 5 days a week, and it's open to the public. It's open for people to drop in and talk to DSAB staff to help get them into that coordinated access system, whatever their needs are within the social services umbrella. I would like, I don't know if it's Councillor Ghani or Councillor St. Louis, to have a little bit more information about what the purpose and setup and the services that are going to be offered in this location. I'd like to have a little bit more information about, I know we have 3 directors listed on the articles of incorporation here, but whether there is a board with a treasurer and a vice president, and also to have a little bit more information about how they are tracking their finances. Like a not-for-profit, and I hope Ms. Craddock will correct me, can't issue charitable receipts in the same way that a charitable organization can. So then how are all those things tracked, and just have a little bit more to chew on as far as the information, because like the soup kitchen is excellent, and I know that they have been serving quite a few people, and I think it's an opportunity not only to fill bellies, but also to create that sense of connectedness with people who may be feeling disenfranchised. But I do have concerns about the outreach and the overlap, and finding ways to make sure that the outreach that is being done by this group, that is no doubt useful, is not misaligned with the coordinated services being provided by DSAB, because I think that that's a really important piece. Thank you.
I'll share some thoughts. I thought about this, and we've had this on our table a number of times through the No More Tears group, and I don't doubt the hard work that the volunteers are putting in to assist individuals. I think, and I made a little note here before you spoke, Madam Mayor, and I thought the same thing along the lines of duplicating existing services that are already in place. And if part of the goal of having an office space set up is to bring in community groups who have the expertise in the different areas to meet with people, for me, I don't understand why we aren't just going to those organizations with the assistance of the No More Tears folks to meet with the experts, instead of renting a space to bring them from wherever they are 5 or 6 blocks away to meet with the same individuals. I would support as well if they're looking for growing their organization to reach out to DSAB. That's what their job is to provide social services within West Nipissing. I'd be a little bit leery of starting another group. Office space is one thing. Accessing specialized services to bring in, like I said, if you're already going to be reaching out to the existing organizations, they have meeting space, they have places, they have policies in place for privacy and all that type of stuff to make sure it's safe and secure for individuals to go in and access the services that they need to help them in their situation. And I don't see this as being similar, and I know some people have chatted online, is this being similar and the same value as the food bank? I don't agree with that. I think the food bank is specialized in what they do, and I had the thought that I'd treat this request the same as I would for another group saying, and we want to start another food bank. Well, we have a food bank. We don't need to start a second one and rent 2 spaces and all of that thing that's attached to it. So, I have some concerns about what, and this is me getting into the weeds, but I think it was mentioned by a counselor earlier, what's happening within this office that we're going to be in some way probably some type of liability if we're paying for the rent and providing this to the group. I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't think negative stuff, but I don't know. I don't know what this space is going to be used for. Is it going to be 24 hours? Is it going to evolve into something that it wasn't intended to? I don't know. But we don't know because I don't have that information in front of us. But I know folks don't like the response that I usually give with respect to our friends at DSAB and what services that we pay for here. But that's the intention of that organization. And I know even within West Nipissing, led through our CEO a couple months ago, and I think those discussions are still ongoing. We're trying to do the best that we can to coordinate those services here. We had a commitment from the acting CEO at DSAB to sit in on those meetings and meet with service providers here within West Nipissing and to try and build and grow from that perspective. So, you know, in my position, I don't think we're necessarily voting on this tonight, but at a very minimum, I'd like to see lots more information to see what, but if I'm reading this letter that we were provided with, it talks about, I'm just trying to watch it here, find it here. Just for some of the services and to connect them with individuals who provide those services, those professional services within the community. In my view right now, I don't think that this is here yet. Volunteer group, and don't, you know, please don't twist my words. I'm not against the group itself. I just think we have a number of professional organizations who are there to help those individuals in these situations. And I've always been of the mindset that we should be working as a municipality with our Social Services Administration Board, with the local services to get a good coordinated effort there and then see where there's still gaps. But I don't see this, in my own opinion, I don't see this as filling a gap. And often that's what we like to do, is fill gaps that are there. We have examples of people who've shared that they didn't want to get into the DSAB services, and everything in life, you always have a choice in what you want to do. But if we're not, you know, taking advantage of what exists right now, my opinion is I don't see this as an office as something that's going to fill a gap that exists within our community. And I will stand by my words, and I'll take whatever comes my way, but that's what I believe. We have professionals, and we should be doing everything we can to connect them to these individuals who need the service.
Here, Chair.
Oh, I'm Chair. I thought you had another comment.
No.
Okay, so I don't know if we need a straw poll to see.
I was just gonna, you know, I mean, you can't just do a straw poll, so there's any support behind it, or if there's support for staff to go and get much more detail for council, or if you're prepared to you know, yeah, do your straw poll right now. But yeah, if you want to direct staff to be in contact with the group, rather than it coming through in bits of emails all over the place, we can reach out if that's council's wish to get information. Yeah, Councilor Swift, to look at that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that comment. I know it was made by a couple of members around the table here to see about more info. If we want to get something, and I'd really like to see something that provides a good, clear picture.
Business plan.
So if staff would like to do that, we can revisit this at a future meeting once we get more information.
I do, Councilor Lecter, we're at your service.
Yeah.
So, yeah, okay, so if that's good for the next step, if everybody's okay with getting that additional information, we'll have staff work with the group and bring that back to us at a future date. Concludes my part, and I will officially give the chair back to you.
Thank you. We are a little early for break, but the next item we're moving into would be the water and wastewater budget, which will probably take us a little while to go through. So I would propose that we break now for our 10 minutes and then come back and let Councillor Pellerin take the hot seat and tear us through our water and sewer budget. I take a mover and a second, please. Councillor St. Louis, Councillor Restool.
It is moved by Councillor St. Louis and seconded by Councillor Restool that approximately 7:45 the motion was tabled for 10-minute recess.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for indulging our break a little. With that, we're still in committee of the whole. We will move on to Water and Sewer Committee, and I will pass the floor to Chair Councillor Pellerin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess I pass it to Ms. Braddock or to Mr. Ming, or before that, I'd like to say, I'll take a page from my neighbor here. I'd like maybe to get questions after each section, if that's okay. Anybody got questions after each section?
All right, so then I'm going to start you through the operating and the changes that are there. I've got my technical experts sitting in the back for the capital. So a little bit of a projected increase in rate revenue. It is a little bit different from taxation, where I know absolutely about change of assessment and things like that, but we do pick up when there's been a little bit of growth. Obviously we've talked about assessment, so if we've got growth that I know is going to impact rate revenue. The others, we have a couple of our metered customers that are large users, and so I do take a look at kind of the history that we've had in their meter use. So that's why we see just that small bit of increase in rate revenue when we start the process. Salaries and benefits increase are just straight collective agreement increases. That's no new complement. We don't have new folks in there, and benefits increases is corresponding with that. And I probably should have stopped after revenue because that was the first section, Mr. Chair. But do you want me to keep rolling into the operating cost section?
Sure, we didn't cover too much yet.
Yeah, so there's not a lot there, no. No, and that's it. There's not a lot of change in this budget. So like we saw on the municipality side, there is an increase in insurance. It's sort of across the board that everyone's seeing that. We see a decrease on the interest on loans, but you'll see a corresponding change in the payments that go along with the loans. So as loans come down, we pay less interest, but we pay more principal. Office supplies includes our leases and memberships and various things like that, all kind of sit with office supplies. Let's back up to my other document here. And there is sort of some, you'll see in capital that there's some software stuff that's going on in capital. There is some software stuff that's going on in operating as well. And that in the past, sort of the software that runs our plants, we've got software that runs our lift stations and things like that, is that we're improving both connectivity, both the types of software and getting onto sort of annual maintenance programs with our software so that it's always sort of the most up-to-date version. So what we have then is sort of this increased cost here with the hope that what we have is longer term savings in maintenance and in shutdowns and when we can communicate with our lift stations and things like that. So part of the software upgrade sits in operating, part of the software still sits in capital just because of the value of things until we get our software all transitioned and caught up. So that's why you see sort of a larger than expected increase in that line this year. Process materials is exactly what it sounds like. It is all the chemicals that it takes to run our plants. It has been a slowly increasing line every year. We saw some significant increases in 2023. So again, we just sort of budgeted for more costs for our chemicals and operation with that. Services and rents is our Aqua contract. So Aqua bills us for an annual fee on the burner plant, as well as they bill us for some small maintenance amounts that come through each year on the burner plant. And telecommunication, that's just our hydro, our phone, those types of things, and vehicle expense. They obviously don't have the same type of vehicle that Public Works does, but just some vehicle expenses that sit in water and sewer. I will take a pause there, Mr. Chair.
Great. This
Verification. So the larger than expected increase in office is really due to technology.
It's technology,
upgrades,
yes.
And then we'll see a little bit more in capital on the capital side. Okay, and the services and rents is like a service level agreement with Aqua to run the burner plant.
Correct.
Yes, thank you.
For the Werner Aqua, the 360,000, is that the complete bill for the year, for the maintenance and everything,
So there's a little bit in there that has to do with our railway crossings here in town. The rest is aqua and it includes that maintenance. Now, they sometimes have large capital projects for us that you will see in capital, but it does include the small maintenance. They provide all the chemicals, they do everything at the burner plant and the lagoon for us.
so like this summer, they had to bring in some more people to do the flushing. Would that be in the 360 or is that in a different section?
So the flushing, we saw contractor stuff coming through separately.
It was a combination of both. Our municipal services did the flushing, and there may have been some aqua workers that were involved. And anything that's above and beyond what the agreement is, we get billed for it by aqua. And that's why there's a little bit of extra being budgeted for a special assistance that we need.
Yes, because the guys were there for a couple of weeks. Okay, the interest on the loan, what's the depth of the water and sewer?
It was actually in the municipal budget side, but I'll just pull the amounts back up here. So the water and sewer at the end of 2023 still had 3.7 million in debt across 3 loans.
Okay.
Do we know what those loans are? Yeah, so there was an original loan, and it's the largest of the 3 loans remaining. It's got 2.7 million still on it, and it was sort of a consolidation loan back in the kind of mid-2000s as there was transition between PUC and municipality, and it was just sort of consolidating operations and some work that was done in Verner. So it's just sort of a catch-all of a lot of things that were going on. The other 2 loans have to do with projects called ComRIF. And that was, again, towards the late 2000s. We did a lot of work in downtown and storm sewer separation under a grant program. And so then we got the funding on our portion for those 2. So that's what the other 2 loans are. And, they make up the other kind of $1 million of debt still.
Those loans, are they long-term or are they locked interest?
So two of the loans are, so the big loan is actually, has interest, and it's locked into 2027, and that time it's complete. And so it has one of the smaller loans is also locked into 2025, at which time it's also complete. And we have one loan that the loan term, like the amortization period runs to 2029. However, it is up for renewal this year for one last period. So I have built a little bit of that into, our projections here, yeah.
One last question about under operating costs. The contractor is for 190,000. What does that entail?
So our contractors are for when we have, water main breaks or sort of emergency things, or we're doing some of the, if we do just we have patching that's kind of, again, in the capital section, but if we have to do, small repairs or things like that, that's what the contractor line is for. It's for our distribution and collection portion of water and sewer.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
Now, really just through the sort of bottom section with that kind of in and out of reserves and things like that. So the transfer to reserve And so again, like everything else, we transfer sums of money to reserve for, the big chunk of it goes for infrastructure, facility, and a little bit for equipment. And so there's a small increase of an additional $55,000 of additional requests to transfer into reserve. Now, we probably spoke to this council last year that, historically, it's quite some time ago, we need to sort of correct how much is going into reserve and get on top of our infrastructure. It was around the time we started need to do financial water plans that we had to submit to the ministry. And so we actually initially had gone and did a lot of that. We did a huge increase to get to the 1 million mark, really kind of over a couple of years, and council of the day kind of bit the bullet and got us up to that 1 million mark. Some of the money came initially from power gen dividends as well. And so since then, it has mostly sat at that kind of 1.1 million stage. And so again, we just need to sort of start moving that line a little bit. Going along with our capital plans and all the rest, we've been working with managers to get 5-year capital plans back in front of council, just so that you can feel as scared as I do. But yeah, so it's just a small increase in the ask to transfer to reserve to fund the infrastructure projects for water and sewer. Contribution from reserve funding, those two amounts sort of change depending on the projects that are going down below, so that the contribution from reserve and funding take care of the capital acquisition project, and that just is sort of a balancing act between what sources we have available to us. We are still finishing some of that John Street stuff that is a funded project, so there is a lot of funding in last year and this year because it's connected to those projects. It's not always, we don't have that sort of stable funding in water and sewer from grants set up. Payments to loan, as I said, payments to loan come down a little bit payments to loan go up a little bit as interest comes down a little bit. So that's just the difference on that. And then there's the capital expenditures, kind of in the dollars portion. So what we end up is a shortfall of $173,000 in water and sewer. 1% is 62,400. So that shortfall of 173,000 is a 2.78% rate increase that would be required for this budget. I'm just going to sort of jump ahead and we can take a pause and before we get into capital. I did give you sort of an estimated reserve position. It is still estimated because we just closed AP last week and we're still just sort of rebalancing it. And then I have to do some inventory adjustments, but kind of expected to be just about $50,000 of a surplus. So not a lot of surplus. It's kind of a reasonable ending position. But you can see what their water and sewer maintains a general reserve in addition to their dedicated reserves for infrastructure. If you'd like, I could sort of I'll start you on some of the things that are work in progress on the capital, and then I will hand it off to Mr. Ming to talk to you about the projects. So on page 6, we're looking at capital infrastructure. There was a lot of work in progress at the end of the year. And some of that is just sort of a timing issue, as far as how projects wrap up for the end of the year and whether they carry over at the end of the year. And so obviously the water main project in John and Corsall and Industrial Park, they were sort of the big infrastructure projects for 2023. And we didn't have everything wrapped up at the end of the year. So those projects are carrying forward, but the funding and reserve carries forward with them as well. So those ones are already sort of taken care of. A lot of the design work is just sort of ongoing design work that we have to, keep these projects moving and to sort of get to a resolution on these projects. Again, it was money that was allocated in 2023, or the Nipissing one actually is a 2022 project that's still carrying forward. So again, the reserves are there. Those are just all projects that are carrying forward. And then I'll hand it off to Mr. Ming to talk about the new stuff.
Sorry, Ming.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
So all of the work in progress is are projects that were budgeted for in previous years, and the money moves forward with the projects. So those are not new dollar amounts.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, so before we go to Mr. Ming, I just, the 1% increase equals how much money?
62,400.
62?
Yeah.
Just so people know, we increase 1%, it's, you need $62,000 more to operate.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. May?
So I'll talk about the new items here. So request for a couple of actuators. These are automatic valves that we would like to install at the Sturgeon Falls wastewater plant. This would allow us to have better control of the treatment process. Right now we have manual valves, so the operators have to manually set them, and then as sludge and other gunk build up on it, they'd have to go and open it. And so we lose actual control over the rates that we like to have set. So with an actuator, it would allow the system to automatically change and keep the rates that we like to set them at. The next item is IT replacement. That's for the computers that control the plants. It's 5 years. We would like to change them. The Sturgeon Falls water treatment plant. It's a big item here. It's a new generator we're requesting for. The current generator we have is obsolete. It's working fine, but it was installed to 1989 standards, which does not meet today's standards. And also components of the current generator, they're hard to find. So it's a situation where if we end up with a long power outage, we're sitting on a potential problem if we don't have a generator that's functional. Currently, the generator we have works. We are striving right now to make sure we have components available to keep it going, but there will come a time where it's going to be hard to get, we're at that time where it's hard to get replacement parts. And the other problem with the current generator is built indoors. We are striving to find a generator that we can replace and place it back indoors. But if we are unable to do so, we will have to build a generator outdoors, platforms, and other components needed, which would bring up that price to that requested number. Hopefully, if we can get it indoors, it might bring the number down a bit. Filling station, that's just a project for allowing contractors that are taking our water. It's a cost recovery project. If it's going to cost more than $20,000, it's a project I would not recommend doing because it's going to be harder for us to recover that cost. And it's a project that we would do that would piggyback the water looping projects that we already have planned for that area. IT replacement, again, that's the SCADA computers for the water plant for replacement. And now we're into the Vernon water treatment plant. So the water tower, it needs to be rehabilitated. The pedestal, which is the concrete section of the tower, safety repairs, ladders, concrete repairs, those things need to be done. The inspection of that tower required some relining and replacements of that structure. And in my absence, Alan had spoken to the contractors, and it'd be more cost effective for us to replace the tank section of the tower. And that is something that we're planning for in 2025 or later. But nevertheless, we still need to do work on the pedestal, which is the part that holds up the tank. And there's various equipment upgrades that are required for the Vernon water plant. We've done a lot of work to get that Vernon water plant functional and reliable. And so this is a continuation of it. It allows us the opportunity to keep providing good drinkable water for the community until we get the funding to transport the water from Sturgeon Falls to Verner. Another new item there is the Queen Street pumping station, which is not really new. We have a problem with that station where there's a small leak, and it's something that's manageable at right now. But our concerns is that if that leak gets worse, then we will end up with a problem. So this is a proactive request that we address this. The problem with the Queen Street pump station, which is the one down by the Legion, is it is pumping half the sewage water for Sturgeon Falls to the treatment plant. So all the area that's north of the highway and east of the river goes to that one station. So there is no downtime for that station. So in order to make this repair, we have to pump the sewage. We have to put in a temporary line to pump the sewage from the station across the bridge to Highway 64 into a manhole there, which would then send it to base station, which then would pump it to the treatment plant. So there's a lot of coordinated effort there because we can only do that during the dry season. Because otherwise, if it's doing, say, April, the system wouldn't handle it. So there's a bit of planning required and looking at the weather to see when's the best time to tackle this. Again, it's not an issue at the moment, but it's a potential problem that we would like to get addressed. The next item that we have here is the King and Ethel. This is part of that water looping project that we have. And I believe we have we have the funding for the grants to cover this section. And Cache Bay manholes, we're trying to cover a couple of manholes every year. And same with the Verner valves. We have to do a valve exercising program. We anticipate breakage when we do this, so we're throwing in costs for construction repairs for this program. And then again, if we're looking at expanding for the future, one of the things we need to address is the undersized sewage line that we have currently crossing the river at base station to the sewer plant. So we need to expand, we need to get one that's a little bit larger if we want to expand on the west section of Sturgeon Falls. And then the last couple items is a utility trailer and the sweeper. I believe that was presented with Public Works, and it would help with the vacuum truck component for the sewer component. Any questions?
Mr. Mick, yeah. Any questions? I've got a couple. Under the work in progress, that thermal treatment project, can you tell us what that's about?
So we currently have an anaerobic treatment process. Okay, so we have sludge generated at the sewage treatment system. And what we need to do with that sludge is stabilize it before we could either landfill it or reuse it as a spreadable material on farm fields. So the current process that we have is anaerobic. The process as well reduces the amount of sludge that you've generated. So there's a new technology that's very interesting to us. It's called thermophilic, where you heat up the sludge and it's self-feeding system, which would then stabilize the sludge. and makes it reusable. And the advantage to the thermophilic process is it doesn't generate the noxious gases that we currently generate with our current process. This process was looked into because one of our two anaerobic tanks, the roof kind of tilted, collapsed. The cost for its replacement was, the estimated cost for its replacement was $1.8 million. So when you're looking at that cost for its repair versus the cost of a new technology, it was something that we investigated. And so effort was made to look into its design and replace the current process that we have.
It's been down for a few years, right?
Yes, we've been working off of just one of two digesters.
Okay. That being said, like the cost of not replacing that involves a contractor coming in a lot more to haul this away, right?
There may be slightly more haulage that's taking place. And the other problem with the current way we're running it is we're unable to capture the gas we generate to reheat the process. So unfortunately, we have to flare it all.
Just one last thing. The new generator at 450,000. Any, how do I say that? When we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, I threw it in there that why not try and get a portable generator? Is that even a possibility?
Not for the size we need to run the pumps and the treatment parts that we have in the plant.
No?
I can look into that, but
It's just a thought. We talked about it a little bit.
but you have to wire the unit up to the existing system.
A big plug-in. I would just,
And if it's portable, man, I don't know where else we would use such a generator.
all right. Any other questions? All right. Back to you, Madam Mayor.
We really?
Mr. Chair, if I could just,
Oh.
Yeah.
before you.
Yeah.
So, again, I apologize to council for the very late receiving of the document. That was on me. I said, oh no, we'll send it after the agenda, and then we failed to send it to you. So I do apologize to you getting it this time. What we would like to do then is, on our next meeting, bring it back, if there's more questions. And then if there's not, then we'll have some direction kind of out of next meeting as well, if that's agreeable with council.
You still have the chair. Thank you.
Oh, yes, Councilor St.
Okay, so just really quick, Ms. Craddock, right now you are suggesting it's a 1.78% increase, is that correct?
2.78?
2.78?
Yes.
Oh, okay, sorry. I had two of the numbers, right?
Yes, Councilor Donahue.
Thank you, Councilor Pedro. The 2.78, does that include capital also, or just operating?
No, that's everything.
Oh, that's
A little
everything.
bit additional in it. It's actually capital. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Any more questions?
Seeing no more questions, okay, back to you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilor Pellerin. So that will come back. Councilors can take a chance to review this a little down the line. And we'll have either further discussion or approval or some modifications. We'll talk 2 weeks from now. And with that, we're closing our committee as a whole and we'll move on to the regular portion of our meeting. First item, motion please.
It is moved by Councillor Reston and seconded by Councillor Kushner. Be it resolved that the consent agenda for the council and committee of the whole meeting held on February 6, 2024 be approved as presented.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Okay, and moving on to our new business, we have a resolution to adopt capital budget.
It is moved by Councillor Kushner and seconded by Councillor Tessier. Whereas the special budget meeting held on November the 23rd, 2023, Council discussed the expenditure estimates for municipal capital projects for 2024. And whereas Council approved the expenditure estimates for the proposed capital project for 2024, be it resolved that Council for the Municipality of West Nipissing approved the capital project expenditure estimates for the year 2000.
I know that we will have a little bit of discussion about this because Councillor Tessier had some questions when we were speaking about the budget update. So we're working off the document that was provided to us on November 23rd. And when we have our capital budget meeting, everybody have it in front of them. Okay. Copies here, so if anybody doesn't have their capital budget document and needs a copy, give us a moment, please.
No.
So the resolution, I know we had some questions. If you want to begin, Councillor Tessier, where you left off during our committee?
Yeah. Thank you. So the recommended projects, so the outdoor pickleball court, is being approved or discussed as to what implementation are going to be taking. Oh, yeah.
If I may, yes, there was a discussion at that meeting about the pickleball courts, and Mr. Poulin spoke to the thought that the estimates that had been provided by the group were low, and we spoke again about some of the other just work that needs to happen in the area, and that he wanted to go and he was going to do more kind of analysis and consultation before coming to a price. But it was left in there because we do need some of that funding even to do some of that analysis, but that absolutely before we go ahead and spend $125,000 on pickleball court or those kinds of things, we would come back to council. So whether, and then it might just not be the pickleball courts, it might be the updates to the rest of the tennis courts and things like that. So whether council would like to label this project more as outdoor courts or outdoor facilities or something like that to better capture what the intent is. Or the council simply wants to remove it all altogether.
Councillor Gagne.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And in regards to the requests, I remember and I agree with your comment, Mrs. Broderick. I think could we just put it as a user group request, put the $50,000 because there is work that needs to be done. And also the other thing that I had requested is if we can come back with a policy or a bylaw in regards to when a user group requests that we'd like to have such and such, well, what are our intentions? What are we willing to match? We need to be incorporated. We need I think we need to have a kind of a structure put in place, and then to add to that is the financial aspect of it. Like I'm not willing to pay 100% of everything, but we're willing to help out either in resources and time. We need to put in money if it makes sense. Maybe we match dollar for dollar, or we'll give every $2 they fundraise, we'll supply $1. Or we need something a bit more structured to help us move forward because it is going to become probably more frequent that we're going to for different kind of help. And maybe the money aspect will say no, but we'll give the human resources and help the application process for grants and so on. So I'd like to see that into that kind of structure for just user requests. Just my comment. Thank you.
If I can clarify, then sort of like a stabilized line that might be there for whoever's making an application into things. Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Tessier?
Yes, thank you. I just want to add to that, now that the field rink has been upgraded during the summer, can something get set up inside the rink for pickleball as well? Like, I don't know what the setup is, but the use of that area could be used for pickleball.
Yeah, I mean, that's not necessarily a budget issue here. I know that Stefan will be working with Mr. Guillen will be working with the user groups, because with having a facility that will be so much in demand, there's going to be some work to do administratively on the back end on how to manage user groups. And my understanding as well is that the Fred committee has put in a funding application through the Energizing Communities Hydro One Fund to help with the purchase of nets and other kinds of kind of summertime activities, portable basketball nets, pickleball nets, to be able to use that facility. So I think there is the intention there, and I don't know whether that helps to solve some of the demand on the facility here in Sturgeon Falls. So, answer questions. Okay. I tend to agree. Like, I'd be happier if it was just a little bit more generalized, that line item. You know, whether it's fixing up our court facility. I don't know. You know, I don't know that there was an appetite by council to get into doing nets and some of the more specific parts of that request. But you know, it'd be nice to have a bit of a policy. And I don't think that we want to approve a document that specifically says pickleball courts. Does that sum it up? Okay, so Councillor Sandy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am not sure, however, I don't know if Mr. Poulin could tell me, is there anywhere here in West Nipissing that we do have basketball courts for our use right now? I know that a lot of them use the court that is at Whitewoods. Most of the children end up in that area. However, that is a school property. So going back to what we're discussing right now, if we don't base it just as pickleball, if we resurface the area, and I don't know if there's basketball nets on the fencing at that tennis court, but if that's something that we can look into, then that's something I think that our youth here in town would appreciate, because I'm not sure if there is any basketball in town for outdoors for kids or municipal.
If I may, we don't have any on our properties. Most are in schoolyards, but on our properties, we do not have any.
So the considerations for multi-use. Okay, so how would you like me to?
So then, you know, it looks like,
motion.
yeah, the council is agreeable with leaving that 50,000 in there.
Yes.
We just want to be able to use it for something different.
Mhm.
And it's just whether it's going to be specific for user groups or just for, you know, I mean, if we're developing courts on our own without the user group, if there's some kind of, you know, catch-all kind of, that's what we're looking for is for developing our outdoor space, regard whether it's our development or a user group coming in.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think we just put it as an amendment. To the
So if
resolution,
we would have an amendment for the motion, just to change, if I were suggesting somebody to word an amendment, would be to change the outdoor pickleball courts to outdoor recreation assets.
Yeah.
So if somebody would make a motion like that, that would be fantastic. Councillor Rivard.
I would like, through you, Madam Chair, what you just said. I'd like to amend that portion of the capital budget document, the 50,000 of outdoor pickleball courts, to something more general as in multi-use outdoor facilities. I'll leave the wording up to
Outdoor recreation assets.
And you said-
Seconder for the motion, please. Councillor Gagné. Okay, so we have a motion to amend on the floor, so that comes before all else. So all in favor of the motion to amend as discussed, $50,000 stays in, the wording changes slightly. All in favor? Thank you, Terry. Okay, so we're back on the original motion. We've addressed the pickleball issue within the document. Are there any other questions or comments on any other areas of the capital budget we discussed on November 25th? Councillor Tessier?
I'm not sure if it's, now, when you say that you're approving the budget, did you mention operating as well, or?
No, this is just
the
the capital.
Yes.
So the operating will come back to.
Next meeting. Councillor Gagné?
Yeah, just one clarification to Mrs. Henning. The sweeper truck, $500,000, is that what we estimated? Because there's 250 in public works and 250 in water and sewer.
Yes, yeah, that's a sweep, yeah, and it's a combination sweeper and back truck.
Okay, that's what the cost is for, it's $500,000, okay, thank you.
Yes.
Just wanted to regret that. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. No more
Thank you. Any other questions on sections of budget, capital budget? Sorry, Councillor Westfield?
Through you, Madam Mayor, just a question, not a question, sorry, just a comment. I think it's good. It's refreshing to see some of the things that we're going to be approving a little bit later. And I think doing it this way and getting our funds in place for the capital pieces, we can already see the benefit to the community with prices coming in lower than if we would have tendered in April or May or whatnot. So I think that's a good positive change, I think, that we're taking here. I want to make that comment.
Okay, Councillor Rivard?
through you, Madam Mayor, just in the capital budget portion. So I notice some of the things we'll be voting on later are coming in much lower than these prices. So we don't have to change these before we approve this. It'll just kind of be, okay.
Yeah, it'll leave us a little bit of padding so that if there are projects that do come in over their approved budget, that, and a part of it also accounts for the decrease in funding from the OCIF. OCIF that Ms. Craddock discussed in her update during committee. So there was $194,000 shortfall from the expected funding from the provincial government. And so by doing the process early, as Councillor Restool said, hopefully we're able to realize enough to offset that decrease in funding from the provincial government. Other questions or comments? Okay, with that, we can put debate on that. There's a resolution on the floor to approve the capital budget as amended. So I will take a show of hands. All in favor? Carried. Now that that's done, we're going to move to some awarding and some contracts for the projects that we just, which is a great thing. Oh, but first.
It is moved by Councillor Courchaine and seconded by Councillor Tacey. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2410 being a bylaw to appoint a municipal law enforcement officer for the municipality of West Nipissing, enforce and take effect on the day it is passed.
So I'll just speak quickly on this. Obviously, there was a recruitment process that happened fairly recently during our discussions on budget. We did approve an additional half position for bylaw to help our current bylaw officer with volume calls. And there was a successful candidate, it's in the memo, Dennis Marlowe. So I'd like to congratulate Mr. Marlowe, welcome him to the team once we approve it. But I'd also just like to say I'm really proud of this council because when we got here just over a year ago, we had 0 bylaw officers in place. And now we have 1.5 really competent individuals serving the municipality for us. And I think that's a great step. Questions, comments?
I have a question.
Yeah, Councillor Tessier?
Yeah, Mayor Michelle. It says full-time, but is it a part-time? Like, is it permanent part-time? Because that was a part-time position.
So, right.
It is part-time.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah.
want to clarify.
No, whereas. No.
Oh, it's,
Because
Yeah,
it was
we don't
making
have
me
a second.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Full-time
that's right,
is-
third and whereas.
oh, in the bylaw itself,
Bylaw.
okay.
in the
Sorry,
bylaws.
I was looking in the
Okay,
resolution.
so then we will need a motion to amend that, yes?
Just a
Administrative.
housekeeping. I can just
Okay,
change that.
we don't need to
No.
do. Thank you for finding that.
Yeah, I just,
We
okay,
appreciate
what happened?
that.
Something changed, and so when you flip over?
Find my pen.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it is a full-time or part-time bylaw enforcement officer. And any other questions or comments? Okay, so all those in favor of appointing Mr. Marlowe as a person? Beautiful, carried, thank you.
It is moved by Councillor Restroul and seconded by Councillor Coushain. Whereas 4 quotations were received for the granular resurfacing services in the West Nipissing municipality, and whereas Council concurs with the recommendation received, be it resolved that the quotations for the 2024 granular resurfacing projects for West Nipissing be awarded as follows. French River Contracting, Yokees Road, $255,750 plus HST. LaBelle Brothers Excavating for Beaudry Road, $87,382.40 plus HST, and LaBelle Brothers Excavating La Pointe Road, $61,582.50 plus HST.
Questions or comments? Okay, all in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Rivard. Whereas 2 quotations were received for the surface treatment services in the West Nipissing municipality, and whereas Council concurs with the recommendations received, be it resolved that the award for the surface treatment of LeBlanc Road be awarded to Duncor Enterprises, Inc., having submitted a quotation of $63,178.50 plus HST, meeting all of the requirements. And be it resolved that the award for the surface treatments of Sabourin Road be awarded to Duncor Enterprises, Inc., having submitted a quotation of $85,332 plus HST, meeting all requirements.
Questions or comments? I just have one question for you. So there were only 2 quotes received and one of the suppliers was disqualified on both of the bids.
Yes, the tender required a bid bond and they failed to submit that.
Thank you very much. Any others? All those in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Gagne. Whereas 3 quotations were received for asphalt sheeting services in the municipality of West Nipissing, and whereas Council concurs with the recommendations received, be it resolved that the quotation for asphalt sheeting services in the West Nipissing municipality be awarded to Pioneer Construction, having submitted the lowest quotation of $53,709.20 plus HST, meeting all specifications.
Okay. Questions, comments? Councillor Pelletier?
Thank you, Madam. Just wondering where there's no specific roads or anything, where's that happening?
So this is Dubois Road in Verner between Principal and Gingras,
Okay,
and Beaudry Road between Levac and Leclerc.
Yes, good.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Any others? Councillor Rivard?
May I hear the motion?
No.
Councillor Rivard. Okay. Anybody else? All in favor? Carried, thank you.
It is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Rivard, whereas 7 quotations were received for brushing and ditching services in the West Nipissing municipality, and whereas Council concurs with the recommendations received, be it therefore resolved that the quotation for brushing and ditching services in West Nipissing be awarded as follows. Deep construction for Dutrisac Road, $89,090 plus HST. Deep construction for Laclau Road, $96,800 plus HST. And deep construction for Stewart Road, $57,150 plus HST.
There's a correction there.
Oh, it's Dokes Road, not Dutrisac. And the same, when you look at the schedule, it should be Dokes, not Dutrisac.
Again, housekeeping, do we need a motion? Okay. Okay, so everything she said except Dokes instead of Dutrisac. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Gagne. Whereas 2 quotations were received for a 3/4 ton pickup truck, and whereas Council concurs with the recommendation received, be it resolved that the quotation for the 3/4 ton pickup truck be awarded to Savage Ford Sales, having submitted a quotation of $71,758.49 plus HST, meeting all specifications.
Questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Rivard, whereas 5 quotations were received for the purchase of a new wheel loader, 3 cubic yards, and whereas Council concurs with the recommendation received, be it resolved that the quotation for the purchase of a loader by the West Nipissing Public Works Department be awarded to J.R. Brisson, having submitted a quotation of $219,977 plus HST, meeting all required specifications.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Pellerin?
Mayor, I'm just curious to what brand of machine is Jerry supplying?
Oh, I don't have the tender in front of me. Elisa, do you have the?
I might have, but
Let's get us some.
It's not a John Deere. No, it's not a John Deere.
Where are they from?
I believe it's the same brand that we currently have. It's a company out of Lively, I believe.
I don't have an electronic copy.
Yeah, I believe it's the same. It's the same. But it's the same as what we currently have, and that's what part of why the cost is so low, because their trade-in was quite high because we're trading in the same brand of what.
Okay, so there
For
was
what we
a
have.
trade-in on this.
And that's within the budget.
Yeah, yeah. The budget for this was $320,000.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Carried.
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Gagne, whereas Council received a delegation regarding a cost of community services presented by the Ontario Federation of Agriculture at its meeting on January the 16th. And whereas the Economic Development Advisory Committee recommends that the municipality of West Nipissing proceed with the cost of community services study, and whereas Council concurs with the recommendation received, be it resolved that the West Nipissing municipality proceed with the cost of community services study.
Okay, and there is a memo from Mr. Prudhomme included in the package, just with the research we undertook about the staffing time, which I think was the concern when we had the delegation. So are there any questions or comments from council? Councillor Gagne?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, just on my portion, when when they did the presentation, I did ask the question, like, what's the financial benefit of doing this study? And they had none, so I'm a bit worried about that. But if staff is in agreement to work on the study, to have the data, I'm okay with it. But I'm still questioning if we're not going to reap the benefits financially, I'm just questioning, but I'll go with the recommendation regardless. So just wanted to put that comment out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilor Pellerin?
Yes, just to answer this, I think they mentioned that a way for them to access maybe grants for roads, like the bridge that we were talking about on Eugene Road. Just for that, the order, get the study.
Yeah.
It's free.
Questions or comments? Councilor Hart?
I did through you, Madam Chair, just like presented in the memo provided by Municipal, the Economic Development Advisory Committee had a discussion regarding this, and it was seen as a positive for the municipality, more in an advocacy type of role, where they could advocate maybe for Northern Ontario municipalities like our own for legislative changes at a higher level. So these are, I think there may not be a direct financial benefit immediately, but we may see it in other ways down the line. So I do think with the very low cost of it, because it's only staff time, I believe, and we were reassured that it would be a low amount of staff time, all through email, most likely, that there is actually some sort of benefit that we may see in the future. But so the risk, what would that term be? The reward.
The risk reward.
Yeah, I think it's positive. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Restal?
Let me get us to 9 o'clock here. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just think there's always value in data, right? Whether it comes immediately and it can show us a number, or it's data that we can use to help our advocacy efforts. Ministers or other groups, I think if it says 15, 20 hours, which is reasonable, I think the product is going to be helpful.
Councilor Crochet?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just would like to comment that also ties into our term plan in supporting our agricultural sector in the region. So I'm all for supporting the OFA in their endeavors. So.
I'll just add, we talked about the advocacy and the data, but I also see value in the relationship building with the OFA, which is, a large organization that spans the province and has a significant lobbying power with the provincial government and with agriculture as one of our key sectors. Developing partnerships with organizations within our key sectors, to me, also has value too. So I look forward to working with the OFA. I know they have a strong chapter here with good leadership and good executive, and I'm happy to support their efforts in collecting the data to help advocate on behalf of rural communities for different things at provincial level. So, other questions or comments? Okay, with that, I'll put the resolution that's on the floor to a vote. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, there is a space on the agenda here for Mayor's report. I don't want to make it to 9 o'clock. Councillor Restal? Oh, there's an addendum, so we might make it.
We just might make it.
I apologize. So we do have an addendum, item 8.1.
It is moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Rivard. Whereas a request for proposal was issued for the preparation of a comprehensive community risk assessment and fire master plan, and whereas 4 proposals were received, and whereas Council concurs with the recommendation received, be it resolved, the municipality of West Nipissing enter into a contract with Bear Integrated Solutions, Inc. in the amount of $64,335 plus HST to complete a comprehensive community risk assessment and fire master plan.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll open the floor for questions or comments. I have a few. This was budgeted for in 2023. Was it last year or was it?
So it's under the efficiency fund project. So it was one that was contemplated in 2023. And yeah, we just
carried it. And does the price indicated fall within that we had set to that project?
Yeah.
Okay, there is no prices given for the individual.
We want an RFP, we don't usually provide the pricing details on all of them. We provide the pricing on the one that's going to award you because pricing is just a portion of the component. It's actually being awarded based on the scoring of all the components. Yeah. All the pricing was.
Okay. Questions or comments? Chief, did you want to say anything about this at all before we put it to a vote? Thank you. Okay, I will put it to a vote. All those in favor, vote for the fire master plan. Carrie, thank you. We will still make it. I will not give a mayor's report this week because I think that we spoke enough about our experience at Roma that will count. So with that, thank you all for another good meeting. Look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks.
It is moved by Councillor Rivard and seconded by Councillor Gagne. Be it resolved that bylaw number 2024-11, being a bylaw of the West Nipissing Municipality, to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on the 6th of February 2024, shall come into force and take effect on the date it is passed.
All in favor? Carried.
It's moved by Councillor Gagne and seconded by Councillor Rivard. Be it resolved that the meeting of council held on February the 6th, 2024, be adjourned.
All in favor? Carried. Meeting's adjourned.